Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. On this channel I teach A Course in Miracles. I teach the lessons of the workbook. I will read from the text. I will look at the teacher manual for teachers. And many of you are familiar with A Course in Miracles, and if you are not, A Course in Miracles is a mind training course to an entirely different way of thinking. It brings about spiritual transformation, right? It brings about awakening. It brings about enlightenment, right? So A Course in Miracles is a systematic training to a different way of thinking that is in every way the opposite of the thinking of the world. And the thinking of the world, which is your thinking as a human being, is the cause of all your suffering. Now, why do I focus often on the workbook? Because the workbook is the most important part. It's the application, right? And as he so beautifully expresses in the beginning of the workbook, where he says, well, the text serves as a theoretical framework, right, for these lessons. However, it is doing the lessons that makes the goal of the course possible. Right? So the lesson for today, right, is holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation, which is such a great lesson. And he expresses it so beautifully, how when you're in space-time, when you're in this world, you are in a grievance, right? You are apparently separate from your creator. You're trapped in a body, right? And it's those grievances that hold that idea of separation in place. But in truth, you are not separate at all. It's amazing. It says the egos, which is your self-identity, right? That's you as you define yourself. The ego's fundamental wish is to replace God. In fact, it is the physical embodiment of that wish, for it is that wish that seems to surround the mind with a body, keeping it separate and alone and unable to reach other minds except through a body that was made to imprison it. The limit on communication cannot be the best means to expand communication. That's a funny line, right? Let's face it. But that's true. Right? Because communication must be whole to be real, right? In truth, you communicate without any problems, right? There are no such thing as private thoughts. Yet here you seem to be able to have private thoughts, right? But there are none, right? In reality. But since you have locked yourself in the body with the idea that you're separate, right? By holding on to grievances, your only way of communicating now is the way I'm talking to you now, right? Verbally or some other way of communication that I use the body for. But apparently we lost our ability to communicate directly, which is insane if you look at it, right? Because there's only one mind, right? All minds, right? Either here in this particular realm, what we call Earth, or anywhere else, right, are joined, right? They communicate without effort. But here it is tedious, right? It's not really communication, it's just an effort to communicate, right? And we're always misunderstood, we're always miscommunicating. So yeah, that's just the way that is. And what he so beautifully says here is that that body, right, your idea of shutting yourself off from your source is your grievance, right? It's held in place by your grievance. As many of you know, A Course in Miracles is a course in forgiveness, right? So really, truly, your grievance just needs your forgiveness, right? That's how you set yourself free. A Course in Miracles is a course in forgiveness. And as we've so often expressed here on this channel, is forgiveness is not the way the world thinks about forgiveness. No, forgiveness recognizes that what you think your brother did to you has not occurred. None of this is so. There is no world. None of this is true. Right? That's why forgiveness is so easy. It only applies to what's not so, illusions. Right? So forgiveness doesn't try to forgive what's real, right? If any of this were real, forgiveness is impossible, right? The same thing, if there's a whole eternally creating, loving God, then this world of pain, sickness, loneliness, and death cannot be real, because if that were real, there would not be a whole loving God, right? He wouldn't allow this. But you have the power, right, to hide in a world of your own making, right? So that's the lesson for today. It's so beautiful. Here's another line from this. In fact, if the body were real, it would be difficult indeed to escape this conclusion, right? And every grievance that you hold insists that the body is real. Exactly right, right? It's an amazing lesson. And basically he says that holding grievances is, as he puts it so beautifully, an attack on God's plan for salvation, because truly there is a universal plan for your salvation, right? It was put in place the moment that your mind thought of war, right? That ancient moment that you cannot remember, where you forgot to laugh for a moment, when you had an idea that you were separate from God, right? You're reliving that moment every single moment of the day, right? Every minute of the day and every instant that each minute holds. You relive that ancient moment when the time of terror took the place of love. And you relive it as if it is now. But in reality, it's over. It was immediately answered by God and never was and never happened. And yet somehow you got caught in the mistake. Every moment in what you call a human life is that, right? And you remember that first attack on yourself, right? And now you're reacting to everything as if you're still being attacked. That's the human condition. And what? It's over. And to recognize that it's over, you only need a moment of forgiveness, right? It doesn't need anything else. And the nice thing about forgiveness is that forgiveness is total. One person forgiven is everyone forgiven. Because the transfer value of forgiveness is whole, it's complete, it's total. Right? It's not like you have to forgive everything separately. That's not how forgiveness works. That's not how the miracle works. What is a miracle? It's a correction. It's a correction in your thinking, right? It corrects that erroneous mindset, and it corrects it not by your doing, but it's literally inserted in your thought system, right? It, however, does require your assistance to the point that you train your mind so that the miracle can take place. Your willingness to change your mind. So this is so beautiful. It says here, your upside down perception has been ruinous to your peace of mind, right? You have seen yourself in the body and the truth outside you, locked away from your awareness by the body's limitations. And he says, nah, that's not going to be, we're not going to do that anymore, right? We're going to change our minds. Beautiful, beautiful. The light of truth is in us, where it was placed by God. It is the body that is outside of us, and it's not our concern. To be without a body is to be in your natural state. I love that. I love these lines. They're so loaded. Every line in the Course of Miracles, and many of you have noticed this, is so loaded. You kind of read it, and then you kind of just stop, and it just kind of twists in your mind, and just, if you accept these lines, it just broadens your awareness so much more, right? To be without a body is to be in your natural state. Lovely, right? And he goes on to say, what is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand, right? And just the practice is in that. But truly, for those of you, right, who've been practicing A Course in Miracles, you know that forgiveness brings about that release of the tension of self-identity that keeps you confined, right, and opens your mind to the light that's all around you, right? And that happiness and freedom and relaxation that forgiveness brings about in you um, even if it's just for a moment, right? Once you experience that, you want more, because nothing in this world can give you that. That's certainly what I have noticed, right? For myself, this is definitely true, and I know many of you out there have noticed that as well. It is as if this weight drops off of you, right? And you feel as light as a feather. No, forgiveness offers all that and more. There are some beautiful forgiveness lessons coming up in our Course in Miracles over the next couple of weeks. Beautiful, where he goes like, listen, don't you want this? Don't you want this? All of this? Well, that's what forgiveness offers you. I love that, right? That is so amazing. So yeah, holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for your salvation. God put a plan for your salvation in place. He put the Holy Spirit in charge of it. And all you have to do is accept the message. All you have to do is apply these lessons, right? Without exception, to everything that happens to you today. Why? Because everything that happens to you today are lessons God would have you learn, right? There is no coincidence. Whatever is going to happen to you today is planned by one whose only purpose is your good. Everything is a lesson. See it as so, right? And then remember the lesson for today. Well, I have two choices. I can either forgive or hold a grievance. Those are my only choices. I don't have any other ones. One will lead to illusions, the other will lead to the truth. One will lead to misery, the other one will lead to happiness. It's that simple. A Course in Miracles is a simple course. I sometimes watch a video online and I hear that this is a complicated course and they're going to analyze it, and none of that is useful. Analyzation is not useful. Using one of the phrases from 12-step, utilize, don't analyze, right? But it's not hard, A Course in Miracles. It's a very simple course. You are told exactly what to do, right? What's hard is somehow trying to fit it in your old human thought system, because it doesn't fit there. No, because it's the opposite. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to just for a moment join with you here and read the lesson for today. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please give the video a like or subscribe. Leave me a comment, right, on how you're doing in the practice of A Course in Miracles. And I'll see you the next time.